Oh wow. I'm still. Bringing chat up on my phone because kinda seems like I'm lagging in labs. Just seeing how laggy it is on stream. Pretty laggy. I am on like 2 FPS or some shit. Oh, did you put the good? It's no good, but I had it on my phone. Hopefully that means I'll be able to keep track of what's going on. I'm still lagging a bit. Get like fucking close stuff. Well, rip the streams I'm lurking on, I guess. Chicken cold stuff. Nice. Thank you, Susan. Thank you for those captions. Thank you for your Okay, I think you're good to go. Perhaps, maybe. But hello everyone. We're gonna continue reading today. It's unstable. Yes, I know it's unstable. Please become stable. And now it's excellent? Alright. Okay. I'm still apparently bitrate isn't excellent. Qualities on 16. What do I have running that's like killing Steam? Yeah, perhaps I'm gonna close Steam. No, I'm still lagging. Fuck. Why? I just restarted the laptop as well so that I wouldn't do this. I am Engie? Okay, hey, okay, I'm moving again. I'm moving more properly. Sweet. Alright, we can start reading. For those who do not know, this is TGAB, which is The Gods Are Bastards by D.D. Webb. I know there is no one in chat, but, you know, if you do want to chat while I'm reading, you can go ahead. I will reply, I suppose, is the words. TGAB. I really love the book, which is why I'm reading it. I've already read the first 3 chapters in the prologue on stream, and I have the YouTube vlogs. Is it just YT? No, it is not. Is it YouTube? It's also not. What the fuck did I keep it as? I guess I don't remember my YouTube command. This is a issue. There we go. Yeah, so the YouTube channel has the previous chapters as well as. I need to put those as freaking aliases for that. The YouTube channel has a bunch of the previous chapters, chapters 1 to 3, as well as the prologue. And yeah, basically, I just read through the chapters. If anyone wants to talk to me, I go ahead and talk, I guess. I don't like wait. I guess would be the thing. Yeah. I will admit today's a bit later start than when I said it would be. That's because I was with my parents having lunch, and it kind of dragged. Even then I was late, and that's because I suck. The laptop took forever to boot up, and I was like, fuck. And when it did, there was like the few minutes of lag, but yeah. Anyway, trying to wait for it to hit like 8 or 9 minutes, and then we can start. Just so that there's that buffer, and people can just skip ahead. It's an easy skip, you know. A nice round number to skip to. But yeah, TGAB is great. Do read it if you wanna. If you do wanna check it out, please do check it out. There is an exclamation TGAB that's in my title that you can use to get the link. There's also exclamation socials if you want to listen to me read the other few chapters. It would be in the same style, me talking and then reading. But yeah, last we left off. Actually, might as well previous chapter. Last we left off. There you go. Last we left off, Tricini had just met all the girls who were at the Clark Tower. She just met all the girls who are staying at Clark Tower, who are in her class, and they just got sent into the what do you call that, living room, and they're like talking together now. So yeah, fun, as Tricini said. Tricini perched in a hard wooden chair. It was the only one that lacked armrests to tangle up her sword when she sat. There's also that I stutter a lot. I'm bad. But yeah. Not stutter, I mess up my tongue fucks up. Zarura sprawled in an overstuffed armchair, twisting her belt so that her sword lay across her lap. Teal and Shane perched on the couch with a person with between them. Frost continued to buzz around about everyone's heads, and Juniper. I'm rereading that sentence. Teal and Shane perched on the couch with a person with between them. Frost continued to buzz about everyone's heads, and Juniper settled herself warily in one of the remaining seats. While Janice, still chattering pleasantly, poured tea into 7 cups, Tricini wondered what she expected Frost to do with hers. The girls silently studied each other with naked speculation, except for Shane, who appeared to be meditating with her eyes open. Dig in, everybody! Go on, there's absolutely no call to be shy. This is your home after all. And you'll all be needing a little something to nourish the body after that awful hike you had up to the campus. Jenna stood back, beaming at them, and didn't settle herself into the last chair until everyone Everybody had taken a teacup and a cookie or sandwich from the tray. Frost eventually settled on the rim of the last remaining cup, perched as she was, on the coffee table between them. Her faint bluish glow cast a pale light across all their faces. Did I say glow? Did I say blow? Her faint bluish glow cast a pale light across all their faces. Right then, the house mother went on in her improbably happy tone when nobody volunteered to speak. To start off, I'd like us to play a little getting to know you game. Zara groaned and Teal grimaced, both of which she ignored. We'll just go around the circle here, and everybody can introduce herself. Tell us what you're studying, and then tell us something interesting about yourself. Who wants to start off? Sure, I'll get it over with, said Zarada easily, setting her untouched teacup back on the coffee table. She stood and bowed dramatically, gesticulating with a handful of cookies. I am Zaruda Caramelita. I am Zaruda Caramelita Singhu Samira Meredith Punaji. And no, I don't expect you to remember the whole thing. You can call me Ruda unless I tell you otherwise. I'm technically royalty, but don't let that put you off. My father's Blackbeard Punaji, the Pirate King. So, yeah, we don't really stand in ceremony. You're a pirate? Tristany said in alarm. Zarda grinned and gestured at herself. Yeah? What, in this getup you thought I was a seamstress? I thought you were a princess. For a given value of princess, sure. We don't have spoiled nobles where I come from. I work for a living. As a pirate. Is this going to be a problem? She stared flatly at Tristany, the grin melting from her face. Alright then, Janice interjected, smiling broadly. Ruda, what do you plan to study here at the university? Zaruda lowered herself back into a chair with a shrug. Her easy smile returned. I don't know. Whatever's lying around, I guess. Alright then. She turned a beaming smile onto Tristany. Would you care to go next year? Certainly. She elected not to stand up. After Zaruda's performance, it seemed self-indulgent. My name is Tristany Avella. I'm the chosen hand of Ave. The only one currently, but the goddess can elect as many paladins as she likes. She has in times past. I grew up at the abbey attached to the primary temple of Ave in Virdril. She swallowed, feeling unaccustomed to the weight of eyes on her. Sisters of Ave practice modesty. Sisters of Ave practice modesty as a spiritual virtue. A good soldier didn't seek attention for herself. Right now, I'm enrolled as a double major in martial arts in the divinity program, but I may narrow it to one or the other as I become more familiar with the school. This is all new to me. It's new to everybody, said Teal with an easy smile, which Tristany returned gratefully. Very good, dear, Janice beamed. Now, if we're going around the circle... Oh, that's me then! The pixie shot straight into the air, almost upsetting her teacup in the process. My name is Frost, and I'm here because the Pixie Queen decided to start strengthening ties with the human world, and Professor Twelve schools, not even a human, was the only person willing to take her seriously. Which is a little insulting, I guess, but on the other hand, I can sort of see how we'd seem, I don't know, more cute and impressive to people as big as you guys. No offense. I'm studying to become a mage because I have a natural knack for magic of all things. Of all kinds, and I'm really interested in the arcane magic that humans practice, but it's pretty hard to pick up any information on that from where I come from, of course. So of course I'm very glad to be here. She buzzed in a complete circle around their heads. And I'm very glad to meet all of you, and I look forward to living with you. Thank you, Frost. Even Janice seemed a little dazed by that. Not waiting to be prompted, Shane rose smoothly to her feet and bowed to them. I am Shane, daughter of Ashai. Ashali. I am Shane, daughter of Ashali, maker of House Avarion. My family served the Queen of Tarnis, primarily in diplomatic capacities. which led to my selection as part of Her Majesty's program to strengthen ties with the Tiran Empire. I have selected a major of history, which is deeply interesting to me. Since I am an ordained priestess of Temir, Them, Tem, Temina, Teminra? Since I'm an ordained priestess of Teminra, I will not be harmed by holy energy. But as a subterranean dweller, I don't appreciate bright light in your eyes. I said I was sorry, Tristany and Frost said simultaneously. Now, let's not do on little mishaps, Janice said soothingly. Such things are bound to happen, and we put them behind us. Teal, dear, care to go next? The short-haired girl cleared her throat, then lifted her teacup to them as if in a toast. Well, I'm Teal Falconer, music major, looking to become an accredited bard eventually. I'll be playing and swinging quite a bit, but I'll try not to bother anybody. There's not much interesting about me. How can you say that? Tristany burst out. The talisman of absolution is only given to creatures ordinarily aligned against the gods who devote themselves to the service of the church. You'd have to be a thing of unspeakable evil with a heart of gold to get that. It must be an incredible story. Okay, Jenny said with frantic good cheer, her smile seeming to crack at the edges. Going forward, let's not refer to our housemates as things of unspeakable evil. I'm sorry, Tristany said contritely. Obviously, your privacy is important. Such things are sort of relevant to my calling. Forgive me. Hey, it's not exactly a secret. I'm just not... I don't much care to talk about myself, is all. Did I say, Teal said quickly, wearing a nervous hawk? Well, you did very well, dear, Jenna said soothingly. So let's move on. Juniper, it's down to you, honey. The green-haired girl waved, smiling pleasantly. She seemed oblivious to the tension in the room. That's me! I'm a dryad, but I guess you can tell that. What's a dryad? Asked Erda. Juniper blinked a few times. Oh, I'm not quite sure how to answer that. Why not? The pirate said lazily. If you don't know, who does? What's a human? Said Shane suddenly. Explain it in a sentence. Zarda blinked, frowned, and straightened in the seat. Okay, point taken. Sorry. Well, I guess we've got plenty of time to get to know each other, said Juniper cheerfully. But since this is just basic introductions, Dryads are a kind of tree spirit. I'm like Shane and Frost. Here from the Fey Kingdom is a kind of diplomatic outreach. Dealing politely with humans is going to be better in the long run than ignoring or fighting them, I guess. Where's the Fey Kingdom? Asked Teal. Juniper seemed nonplussed by this question. Everywhere? And what are you studying, Juniper dear? Janice piped in, clearly trying to steer the conversation back on track. Well, I haven't really decided yet. I mean, I read the list of available majors and they all look very interesting. But that's because I don't know what most of them even are. I think I'll have to get a little bit more used to things here before I pick one. Undeclared then, Janice said, smiling warmly. Don't you worry about that, dear. Lots of freshmen start out that way. Wasn't worried? The dryad tilted her head. Should I be? All right, Janice clapped her hands together. So that's everyone. Wasn't that fun? Sarda snorted into an otherwise chilly silence. But the house mother pressed on. Life here is pretty simple. You'll be busy with classes and such soon enough, but you'll have enough free time to relax a bit as well. Unless the campus is locked down for any reason, which almost never happens, you can always visit Lastro. but students aren't permitted to take a rail out or otherwise leave the town unless accompanied by a professor. So, what? We're stuck here? Zerda frowned. Oh, no, not at all, dear. This is only during the academic year. Vacation times are your own, and anyway, more of your professors than otherwise grade based on fieldwork, so you'll actually be traveling quite a bit. Depending on what classes you have, of course. This being your first semester, you'll mostly be in the same classes. They like to start you kids off with the general education credits first, then move on to your individual studies. Your Monday, Wednesday, Friday schedules and Tuesday, Thursday morning classes will be as a group, with Tuesday, Thursday afternoons for major studies depending on what you've enrolled in. The house rules are pretty simple. No complicated magic in the tower without supervision. We wouldn't want you to we wouldn't want you to destabilize the spells holding it up. Tristany wasn't the only one to grab the sides of a chair at that eerie reminder. No boys in the tower either, and that's not a rule you can break. The tower's spelled to prevent them entering. Aside from that, just use your common sense and try not to start fires in your rooms or anything. She chortled happily at that, but Juniper looked alarmed, and Zerda rolled her eyes. Where are the boys? Teal asked. Oh, they'll lodge somewhere else, dear. Don't you worry about that. You'll meet them in class tomorrow. Fitting, said Shane with a solemn nod. Men are delicate creatures. They require careful handling. Everyone gaped at her, which she appeared not to notice, sipping her tea. Six of them too? Asked Zerda, sitting up straighter in her chair. Actually, that's sort of a funny story, said Janice. The balance usually skews in the opposite direction, but this year you girls heavily outnumber the lads. Only 2 in the freshman class. Dibs! Shouted Zerda, waving a hand in the air. On which? Tristany demanded. I'll let you know. I'll pace yourselves, Ruda, said Janice with a conspiratorial grin. Your first class tomorrow is with Professor Twelver. She has 0 patience for clowning or horseplay. Unless she's the one doing it. She clapped a hand around her mouth, over her mouth. I didn't say that last part. Tell no one. Shane raised an eyebrow. Tell no one what? I heard nothing. I think I'm really gonna like you girls, the house mother giggled, and for the first time Tristany had to wonder how old she was. Janice looked to be in her late 20s, but she acted like a strangely motherly teenager. Well, that's all I have for now. Anything any of you'd like to talk about? I need a drink. An awkward silence descended. Well, Tristany said, rising from his seat. Unless someone needs me for something, I have evening prayers to perform. There's a lovely chapel on campus, said Janice. Have you seen it yet? I haven't. I think I'll explore later. My room will suffice for now. Ruda, you of course may come and go as you wish, but I'll ask that you leave me in peace for a while if you're coming back to the room. You know what? You go ahead. Knock yourself out. Zerda waved a hand at her. I think I'll hang out down here for a while. Very good. It's been a pleasure to meet all of you. Tristany bowed somewhat awkwardly, a gesture Shane returned with enviable smoothness without even rising from his seat. She turned and strode back to the staircase, conscious of the eyes upon her back. As she rounded the curve into the shadows above, a faint murmur of conversation rose behind her. Cool, I didn't actually miss anything in chat. There's just no one. I'm sorry if I'm a bit sad. I don't know, if I seem a bit down. Been a bit on the iffy side in terms of mental stability, I guess. But yeah. since there's a good break here, I'm just gonna take a couple sips of water because talking, especially with fucking frostbits, is oh. Frost speaks so quick that you have to like almost like spit the words out before you're done actually like reading them, and I can't do that unless like I have I'm like ready for it, you know. It takes me like a second or two to like get into that, and after that get out of it because she doesn't talk for long, even though she says like everything. um, yeah, it's not bad per se. It's just the way that the different people talk, and I know I'm not doing voices, but I am trying to at least bring across the impression that different people are talking, because otherwise it's kind of like if everything is in one tone and everything is monotone, you don't ever really know what's going on or who's speaking, that kind of stuff. So you don't. It also gets confusing when like it's a paragraph of someone, then a paragraph of someone else speaking, and you don't really know which one is speaking after that. So trying to keep people separate, at least in terms of like tone or words, I'm hoping would make it easier to follow along the story as well. Yeah. As it is, I really love the story. I want pretty much everyone to read it. I recognize that it's not necessarily possible, but I still do want most people to like get into it and read it and stuff, you know. Yeah. I don't know. Going on then. Oops, I'll tap too far. Ah. Tricini felt, as always, refreshed and calm after time spent in prayer. It helped that Zeruda had not returned to their room. With the tension of the day bled away by contemplation of the goddess, she felt calm enough to return to the window, pull aside the curtains, and gaze outside. The sun had set while she prayed. The view from Clock Tower was much less nauseating at night, and even more beautiful, mostly because in the darkness she couldn't see how far from the ground she was. A glaring vault of stars was obscured only a few patchy clouds, and Tricini stood there for long minutes, just looking at them. They, at least, were the same as back home. The world seemed divided in half, the spangled sky meeting the black line of the horizon in a single, even border that circumnavigated the world. It made the sky seem larger than in the hilly territory of Virdra, where mountaintops rose up on all sides to obscure the lower portions of the sky. Still, it was peaceful. She considered going to bed, but prayer left her feeling both serene and energized, and she knew from experience that sleep wouldn't come easily in that state. Casting about for something to do, she glanced over at the stack of books from the Abbey and winced. Maybe another day. It occurred to her to wonder where Zeruda was. She really shouldn't get in the habit of staying out late, but this early in the semester, it might be wise to make an effort to befriend the other girls of her class. After all, she had just walked out on them. Hopefully they'd understand the importance of prayer, but there was no reason to encourage hard feelings. Oh, my mouth is dry. Satisfied with this reasoning, Tricini bolted her sword back on and headed down the stairs. She paused outside Teal and Juniper's door, which was still closed, but there was no sound from within, and after a moment she decided not to knock. Years in the barracks had trained her not to infringe on anyone's privacy unless she had a specific need. They were probably all still down in the parlor with Janice. Nodding to herself, she continued on. The echo of voices was faint. Sound bounced oddly off the curved walls of the stairwell and was deadened by the absurdly plush carpet, so it couldn't have been coming from far ahead. As she drew in sight of the third floor door and beheld it standing open several inches, Trissany determined the speakers had to be within. She was almost abreast of the door before words became audible. "That's easy for you to say," Zora's voice declared loudly. "You don't have to room with her." Trissany froze. "Are we still talking about this?" Teal's voice groaned. "At least one of us is," Shane said softly. "Were they all in there?" "Come on, guys, look at this from my point of view. She's already almost stabbed Shane, tried to interrogate Teal at the meeting, and you should have seen the way she glared at me when I walked into my own room earlier. This may be funny for you, but I've got to worry about getting a sword amidships while I sleep." I really didn't feel any hostility from her. Juniper's voice was nervous, uncertain. "But I'm not so adept at reading humans yet." Trissany's heart pounded painfully. They were all in there, talking about her. Every instinct born of her training shouted at her to knock, or speak, or announce her presence somehow. Eavesdropping was toweringly rude at the very least, and arguably a moral failing. But she felt frozen, listening to them. "Nobody's gonna stab you in your sleep," Teal said patiently. "Okay, why doesn't somebody switch rooms with me then? See how you like it." "I asked Van Richer. She said the rooming assignments aren't set in stone, and somebody always changes, every semester." Well, I just read ahead without reading it. "I don't agree that Trissany's intentions are hostile," said Shane calmly. "But it is early yet. I'm not sure I would feel safe sleeping in her presence until I know her better." "See?" Rilla shouted. "How about you, June? Since you don't think she's dangerous?" "Rilla, stop it," Teal said firmly. "You're being ridiculous." "Yeah? Why don't you move in with her then? Come on, she likes you. You got that merit badge of evil but not evil." "Absolutely not." Shane's head swiveled suddenly towards the door. Rising smoothly, she glided across the floorboards to push it the rest of the way open. Is anyone... She'll trailed off. Teal trailed off, her heart rising into her throat. Gods above, if someone had overheard her discussion. Janice would not be happy, to say the least, but if it was Trissany... "Nothing," said Shane, pulling the door gently closed. "I thought I heard... well, sound echoes confusingly in this stairwell." "Back to the subject at hand, then." Rhoda half sat, half lay sprawled in the corner, occasionally drinking from a bottle of whiskey. So far, nobody had bothered to ask where it had come from. "If you're so in favor of Trissany, why are you so opposed to rooming with her?" "Because, as I said, you're being ridiculous. More to the point, Rhoda, you're being unfair. None of us know one... None of us know thing one... Oh, shit. None of us know one thing about each other at this point, Janice's little game notwithstanding. And we know even less about Trissany, because she's not been part of this conversation. 'Cause she's too holy to hang out with us mere mortals," Zerda sneered. "Because she's a person with a sacred calling and thus has an obligation to spend time in prayer," said Shane. "As do I. You may believe as you choose, but for me to condemn her as asocial due to that would be the height of hypocrisy. Besides, some people just don't like large groups, said Tristan reasonably. Zarura snorted. Large groups? Y'all should try sleeping below decks in a storm sometime. Okay, I've got to say, I'm completely confused, said Frost, who was fluttering around the ceiling. I thought Cicely seemed nice. Guys, I'm telling you, you know what it meant if you'd seen her earlier. All I did was come in the door, and there she is, making fists and looking like she wants to kick me out the window. If I may ask, Shane interjected, continuing to arrange dark silken tapestries along her walls. Did you enter your room the way you did mine a few minutes ago? What's that got to do with anything? Only that if you burst in, shouting and gesticulating with a wine bottle, upon a highly trained warrior who doubtless feels as out of place and uncertain as the rest of us to begin with, much of the responsibility would fall on your head if she had struck you. Shale nailed it, said Tail approvingly, nodding at the girl, who paused in her work to nod back politely. We are all of us in a new place, surrounded by virtual strangers, homesick and scared pantsless, and scared pantsless, about sitting through class with the most dangerous individual in the Empire tomorrow. I'll admit it, if nobody else will. I don't assume I'm a good judge of what any of you are really like, because I've only met you while we're all stressed as hell. Jesse's in exactly the same boat as the rest of us. She sighed and sat down next to Juniper on Frost's bed, which the pixie had told them to treat as a couch since she didn't need it. Ruda, just give it time. In 3 weeks, if you two still can't get along, maybe we'll talk about redoing the whole room situation. But seriously, give her a fair chance before you start trying to upend the whole tower. The pirate grumbled to herself and took a long pull from her bottle. And I'll tell you something else, Teal went on grimly. Your arguments are flimsy, and your instinctive dislike of her is irrational. If I were to start making assumptions of people, I wouldn't start with Trissini. It looks to me like you're trying to grasp for a sense of control because you're more comfortable fighting than trying to get along with people who are different from you. What did you call me? Zerda streamed it from his slump, glaring. Actually, that seems pretty spot on, said Juniper. Oh, don't look at me like that. You're so much prettier when you smile. I would not have put it so bluntly, added Shane, but it's a common enough tactic among those of a warlike disposition. It's worth pointing out that, considering we are all here discussing Trissini in her absence, it is not she who is chiefly guilty of hostile behavior. Zerda swept a glare around the room, but nobody backed down. Finally, she sighed, slouching back against the wall. 3 weeks, huh? She took another drink from her bottle. Fine, we'll see. But you're all gonna feel pretty stupid if one of us turns up dead. My throat dries out so quick. Ooh. Wow, having no one here is different. Usually there's at least one other person in here, and I can chat at them. It doesn't feel as awkward, but whew, boy. Does it suck a bit right now? I'm sorry. I'm not used to being the only one on stream. It's been a very long time since that's been the case. Oh. I guess with people in here, it also gives me a lot more breaks from reading to be able to like, yeah, that's something that's different as well. Um, I am lacking. Sorry. I have that song stuck in my head for a while now. Don't have a lot of water left. Uh-oh. Oh, and I'm lagging again. Uh-oh. Lagging. Uh-oh. Shit, how long have I been lagging? Or not? Nope. Stream like lags a little bit. And then the stream lags a lot more. And I can't tell. Especially because there's no one here, so I have no warning. Oh well. Actually, I'm going to take a break for a second. I'll be right back. I kind of need more water anyway, there's not a lot left. And I want to get a little bit something to like munch on. Maybe lettuce or something. But yeah, I'll be right back. I don't have any tunes, but you can watch my chair? I don't know. I'll be right back. Sloth, why? I don't... That didn't appear in my feed. No, I can't replay that. Sloth! Thank you for the sub. How do I replay that? I can't replay that. The fuck? Do I have an old sub from you? I do! Haha! It's technically not the same one. But it's also not playing. Fuck! Yes, Yeetus that fetus, indeed. But it's not playing. Why? It's playing now. Thank you, Sloth, for the, It scared me! Even though I fucking clicked the button. Oh. Oh, you just heard Yeah, I came back, I realized I was muted and I was saying Sloth. And then I realized I was muted, so I clicked the unmute button and I went thank you for the sub. I was not expecting that. I am sorry. This is how I feel when I'm just reading and then people start subbing. It's a waste of a sub to do it here, you know, but I'm reading this book called TGAB. Ooh, I was trying to put my phone back up. You're not a waste. No. You're never a waste. It's a waste of a sub here because I don't have emotes. I don't have anything special for subs. So there's like no point in giving me I don't even have fucking what do you call that? The sub badges. So there's like zero incentive to give me subs. To sub to me. And please, I don't. Yeah. You have emotes at the very least, very cute ones. You scared me. I mean, you didn't scare me, but I came back and I saw that and I scared myself by replaying an old sub, because apparently Streamlabs says you didn't sub to me. I don't want to fetch the answer brand, but I can't like refresh it or anything either. So like, what? Oh no, yeah, I guess it's small in terms of like Twitch chat. I suppose you're right. I still like them. They're very adorable. Actually, I might as well use a couple here. Should it? People can see it later on. There we go. Yeah. Why do you still have this? I should remove that from here. There you go. Still there. Good. They are very adorable. I love them so much. I really love the stonks one. Even though I rarely get a chance to use it, that's one of the ones I love the most. Ah! Ren, hello. Okay, I guess I should have gone live an hour later then, because everyone's coming in now. Hello, Ren. Yes. Hello, Sloth. Hi. Yeah, I'm still reading TGAB. The previous chapters of this that I've read, because this is chapter 4. Yes, this is chapter 4. I've read the previous chapters and they are on my YouTube, because that's all I'm doing. No, I'm not signing off. I am not signing off. I'm continuing. I just took a break because no one was here and I was like, kind of need more water anyway, so I took a break to do that. I got through like half the chapter. Yeah. Yeah, a good half of the chapter. Because this is where the bar is right now. Like the scroll bar. And then there's that much left. Not bad. Not bad. Um, Basically, what's happened so far is, um, I believe when we left off in chapter 3, Tristini and the rest were having a final like sit down, where we're just finally like starting to sit down and meet each other. Tristini and her female classmates. We found out that there's like some tension uh, between Tristini and some of the others. Um, we found out the majors of each of the girls, the 6 girls in total. Trying to remember what else. We had a little like tense, awkward, this teenage discussion drama thing. Uh, and then Tristini left after the end of that first meeting to do prayers because she is a paladin. Uh, that buzz is loud. And then when she left, uh, or rather when she was done with prayers, and she was like coming back down to find everyone, she overheard the other 5 talking about her specifically, and she heard some pretty overheard some pretty nasty stuff, and then they just realized that someone may have heard them, and after they saw that actually no one did hear them, for some reason Tracy just kind of vanished. Who knows? Um, they kind of like turned around, kind of fought back against Zeruda. Uh, yeah, and that's pretty much where we are at right now. Yeah, that's just this was the last paragraph I read. Zarla swept her glare across around the room, but nobody backed down. Finally, she sighed, slowing back against the wall. 3 weeks, huh? She took another drink from the bottle. Fine, we'll see, but you're all gonna feel pretty stupid if one of us turns up dead. So Zerda wants to switch roommates because she got Tristani, and Tristani kind of feels like Tristani's being hostile, but she kind of not. It really is D&D. Yes, it's heavily. It's not based on D&D, but it's like heavily inspired by D&D. I guess I would say. I don't know for sure. Obviously, I'm not web, but like just as a fellow reader, my phone is falling. Just as a fellow reader, that's what it feels like. I guess it feels a lot like a D&D campaign, but also set with like a bit of high school drama, kind of shenanigans going on in the background, I suppose. Yeah. Oh, my nose. Alright, I'm gonna keep. Oh, my nose. Why? Why did it start to itch now? Okay. I'm gonna keep going. Tristani paid no attention to where she was going. The parts of the university were well lit at night. On her previous trip to the campus during daylight, she hadn't even noticed the glass orbs hovering unsupported over the paths. But in the darkness, they put out a steady white glow that drowned out even the moonlight. She barely noticed them now. She wanted to hunch over and wrap her arms around herself as she walked, but fought off the impulse. Proper posture was as much a part of her as a sword, as was the instinct not to show vulnerability. No one had ever hated her before. Mechanically, she put one foot in front of the other, staying on the paths, but not seeing where they led. At the Abbey, she'd been a hero, because of Ave's calling more than anything she'd actually done. But the knowledge of the disparity had driven her to work twice as hard, to make herself worthy of their attention. Even before the goddess had singled her out at 15, she had been well liked among the other initiates. How had she offended everyone so badly in the course of one afternoon? Trissini raised her head and found she had wandered back to the open lawn she had seen earlier. Though she'd passed a few other students on the way, this place was empty now. Slowly, she made her way over to the gazebo and climbed the 3 steps into its shade. It was darker here, with no light globes nearby and the roof obstructing the stars. So this was what it would be like here. Mother Narni had tried to warn her that out in the world she would quickly meet people who resented Ave and all she represented, and would resent Trissini by proxy. She finally let herself slump into a bench, staring down at her boots. She was a warrior. Her whole life was the expectation of battle. How could she let herself be so hurt? It was just a few words from a few girls who didn't really know her. She swiped at her eyes. The tears weren't there, and she wasn't gonna let them be. This whole thing was just stupid. You okay? Tristan lunged halfway to her feet, gripping her sword, and the boy who'd spoken hopped back, raising his hands peaceably. Sorry! Sorry. Didn't mean to sneak up on you. No, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have let myself be snuck up on. She sank back down onto the bench. I'm fine, thank you. Okay, well, I won't bother you if that's what you want, but I don't think Ave approves of lying. She snapped her head up to glare at him. Something about him seemed familiar, though she couldn't place him, and hardly knew that many boys anyway. He had skin, the darkest shade of brown she'd ever seen, and curly hair trimmed very close to his head. The expression on his face was pure open friendliness. Do I know you? Sorry. I guess that was maybe a little presumptuous. He smiled ruefully. It's just hard not to recognize you, what with the armor and all. I've been looking forward to meeting you since I learned we were both coming here this fall. The boy extended a hand to her. Tobias Kane, hand of only. Toby to my friends, which I hope includes you. Oh! Tristany rose again, fully this time, and grasped his hand. Oh, I'm sorry. I've been hoping to meet you too, Mr. Toby. I'm Tristany. Avela. Sorry. I'm just really out of sorts tonight. Yeah, I got that impression. Letting go of her hand, he hopped up the steps in one stride and seated himself on the bench opposite her, placing them on both sides of the gazebo's entrance. You don't have to do anything you don't want to, of course, but it's amazing how much it can help just to talk about what's in your mind. Don't worry about it, she muttered, slumping back onto her seat. It's stupid anyway. I forgot how much dialogue is in these few chapters. He shrugged. Maybe. Doesn't mean it doesn't matter. Trishini cast about for something to say that would get rid of him. Omnu's followers were all about compassion, and there would be no shaking a paladin of that deity if he believed she actually needed help. She lifted her head. He was just sitting there, watching her. He had the kindest eyes she'd ever seen. Everybody hates me, she burst out. That's hard to imagine. Still with a polite, demure half-formed. Still with a polite demurral, half-formed, Tristany listened to herself babble on in growing horror. It was as if her mouth was done taking orders. They do, though. Everyone in my house. I heard them talking about it. That makes it even worse. I mean, what kind of person listens in on a private conversation? I was raised better than that. But they were all talking about me and how they apparently think I'm going to murder them in their beds, and I was just, I don't know, frozen. And the worst part is, this is also stupid. How can I even possibly care about this? I'm a paladin. My whole life is going to be spent applying a sword to people who are going to hate me no matter what. It's just ridiculous that this bothers me so much. But it does. Now I don't even want to go back to my room. He sat there, watching her and listening, his expression attentive without offering a trace of pity, until she finally trailed off and drew in a long, shuddering breath, trying to get herself back under control. She was not gonna cry, damn it. That's rough, Toby murmured. But first of all, there's nothing stupid at all about feeling hurt when people are jerks to you. I don't think they were jerks to me, she muttered. I think they were afraid of me. Can I tell you what I think? She sighed. Fine. Sounds to me like a misunderstanding. Whatever you did to set them off, they probably took somewhat out of context. I mean, come on. You're the hand of a way, champion of justice, protector of the weak. I know you didn't walk in there and say or do anything you meant as a threat. Speaking from experience, we paladins can take a little getting used to. We do? She looked up at him miserably. If I remember right, you're from Virgil, right? Grew up at the temple there? In the attached abbey, but close enough. He nodded. No offense intended, Chisholm. But, honestly, I believe you're a little sheltered. I was raised at the primary temple of Omni, but that's in Terras, a stone's throw away from the Imperial Palace itself. Literally, my friend Gabriel threw a stone onto the Emperor's balcony once. Ooh, ouch, she winced. Is he still alive? Toby laughed. Yeah, he's got a knack of getting out of the trouble he gets into. But my point is, I'm used to the politics and the fast pace of the capital. Well, the first thing you learn there is that life is a bunch of confusing grey areas. It can be really hard to take a stand for what's important and hold to it when you're surrounded by people who genuinely think nothing means anything and all that matters is power. You think that's what it's gonna be like here? Tristany wanted to groan. No, I think the university is gonna be a whole different tank of fish. More, detectable shades of grey, maybe. But still, it's not gonna be as simple as being only around people who share your faith and your convictions. Great. So I'm naive as well as a menace. She sighed. Menace. Menace. Not menace. Menace. Toby stood up, walked over and sat down beside her, resting a hand on her shoulder. She couldn't feel his skin through her armor, but there was something reassuring about the weight of it. I wouldn't put it that way. You've just got a little adjusting to do. Avay's paladins have been a force for everything that's right in the world for thousands of years, and I know she didn't call you by accident. You'll do fine, Tristan. Remember, you've got a goddess to help you through it. He smiled at her, so warmly that she couldn't help returning it. Besides, keep in mind your housemates are all as lost and scrambling to adjust, just as you and I are right now. I bet you anything, when things start to settle down, you'll find out they didn't mean any harm. She took a steadying breath and nodded. You heard the crash of my phone? Yeah. I may have exaggerated when I said they all hated me. Teal seemed to be, I don't know, trying to calm things down. I'm gonna just put that there. Oh, that's right. You'll be rooming with Teal Falconer. He grinned, nodding. That's good. She's a natural-born peacemaker. Yeah, I highly doubt Teal suspected you of anything nefarious. You've met Teal? She let out a huff of breath. Does everyone here know more about what's going on than me? Toby laughed. Oh, no, nothing like that. I got to spend some time with her a few years ago when she was at the church in Terrace. They weren't exactly giving her the run of the place for obvious reasons. Spooky going from your own cozy life to being cooped up by suspicious priests. We were both sort of in need of a friend. Hello, God Eater. I'm reading a book. I'm reading The Gods Are Bastards by D.D. Webb. I'm literally all I'm doing is I'm reading, and then I'm chatting with chat whenever they chat. Yeah, I've got no other words for it. I'm just reading because I like this book, and I wanted to get more people to read it, and I figured, hey, why not read the book? Well, because I've reached because the book currently is in the hiatus, because the author is a bit burnt out on it, which, fair enough. He's been writing it for what, 5 years, I think now. Holy shit, it's been 5 years. Yeah, it has been 5 years. Oh my god. Yeah. Anyway, he's been writing it for like about 5-6 years now, and he's been writing it through a lot of shit. He's gotten like, I think he's gone to the hospital a couple times. He has, his mental health is not the best. Yeah, so it's not like a very good. I don't want to say good, but like it's not been a very smooth 5 years for him. Yeah, it's not been a smooth time for him, and he wrote this book, and I as a reader, I really love it. Book's on hiatus right now because he needs to like regather himself and unburn out himself from the book, because he wrote. Oh my god, this book has so many chapters. Like, gods, don't look at anything that comes up in my search history, please. Like it's not gonna be anything, but don't look at it, nonetheless. But yeah, if you do exclamation mark TGAB, TGAB, you can see basically like what kind of book it is. It starts out very fantasy, high fantasy, and then it slowly gets a bit more steampunk, and then it kind of gets sci-fi. And I really love that. And it's like one of the books I've been reading since I knew you. I think, yeah, since I knew you, God Eater. I've been reading this book for a really long time. I love it. And yeah, he's this book is like long as shit. Yeah, like here, this is just book 1. It's got 21 chapters, and I'm not even through one chapter yet, And I started stream reading chapters, and there's 21 of them. So, in a sense, I have content. If I just read these books, I have content for fucking years. Because it's not just one book. He's got, I think, 8 books out right now. No, way more than that. Oh, way more than that. 16 books out right now. 16 books out right now, with a bunch of bonus chapters that we read as we go in the books. But 16 books, and some of them have fucking 58 chapters. They are long ass chapters. Good shit. 78 chapters. I think 15 is the longest one. Yeah, 33, 53. (42), 52, 38. So good, at least 20 chapters per book. I say that and I see a 13 chapter book. But like, yeah, in general, it's at least 20 something. I guess the average would be like 25, 30. Fucking hell, the next 30. Well, that probably brings down the average, but it's long. It's a long book, and I love it so much. Author is on hiatus. I want the next chapter, but I understand. But, whew, it's good shit. It's good shit. So, I kind of wanted to do a reread of the book anyway, and uh, while I was wanting to do a reread, I kind of, cause my laptop can't handle games anymore for some reason, which is why I've been doing just chatting and books, reading books on stream. But yeah, like mainly that's what it's come to. Uh, yeah, I don't know. Well, I don't know what else to say really. That's pretty much it. Books, lovely books, and me wanting to read them on stream. That's literally the entire reasoning for why I'm doing this. Yeah, I'll get a PC. It's like I'm like lazy. Actually, I should move my face up here. And then move this down here so that the latest chat messages are actually visible instead of, not. But yeah, I'll get a PC sometime. But till then, I have a laptop. The main reason I put off getting a PC up till now was, yes, money, but also because, like, up till now I wasn't sure whether I was going to be in Singapore or in Oz, and I wasn't completely certain whether I was going to get space for a PC. But now it's a lot more likely that I can, so I might end up getting it. If I do get it, I'll probably have to like custom build it and stuff, and I'll probably do a stream on that. If I do, and if I don't, I don't care. But yeah. Tristany felt this perplexing stab of envy for her housemate. Must have been nice, getting to know Toby in a more comfortable place than this increasingly disturbing campus. Or had that really been comfortable? He didn't make it sound so. Is that when she got the talisman? Yeah. Teal has a demon inside her. It was some kind of possession attempt that went wrong. She's got control of it, and the talisman of absolution helps her keep it contained and protects her from holy magic. Wow, she breathed. Yeah, I guess it would burn a possessed person, wouldn't it? That'd be an awful surprise if someone was trying to heal her. Exactly. Look, I may have said too much about this already. It's her business. No, I understand. That's fine. Thank you for telling me. I'd been wondering. Smiling at her again, he stood. He really did have the kindest eyes. Well, class starts early, and Professor Toleran is legendary. Showing up half asleep probably isn't a good idea, so we ought to get to bed. I'm glad to have met you, Tristany. You too, she replied, then smiled hesitantly. Thanks for listening, Toby. You're a good listener. That's what I'm here for. He gave her that glowing smile again, then reached over to squeeze her shoulder one more time. You're going to be fine. I promise. She sat there, watching him stride away across the shadowed green. What a nice boy. Growing up in the Abbey, one didn't get the best impressions of men. It was good to know the world had kind ones. She'd already met a few since leaving home, of course, but she reflected, tilting her head as she watched Tobias make his way down the path. They weren't all that pleasant to look at. Justine clapped her hand to her face. Oh, good. That's great, Tris, she muttered. Meet the only other paladin in the world and immediately start drooling. Goddess, I'm worse than the pirate. Zerda had apparently... What the fuck is that word? What the fuck is that word? Yeah, I just want to keep my scuff stream, man. That's all it is. Prevaricated? Prevaricated? The fuck is prevaricated? Prevaricated. Speak or act in an invasive way. Speak or act in an invasive way. Okay. Actually interesting. I did not know that. I guess I would have gotten it from context, but like, cool. Listen, this uni laptop is not actually a uni laptop. This laptop I bought in Singapore before I left, and it was top of the it was top of the line then, and still pretty fucking good now. It just for some reason refuses to run games. It's literally all it's refusing to do. It's refusing to run games. I think I fucked it up because I think I switched like the GPU settings and stuff when I was trying to like stream games, because I really wanted to stream Overwatch and I was trying to like very hard. No, it still is pretty top of the line. It's got like fucking 2 terabytes and shit. It's got like 8 GB RAM. No, I think 16 GB RAM actually. I don't know. I'm not gonna pull up the specs. I don't care enough. But it's a good laptop. It's a great laptop. I love it so much. But yeah, I probably fucked it. It's not always been scuffed. I used to be able to play fucking Overwatch with you guys. You can't gaslight me. Yeah, no, it's almost definitely me fucking something up with the GPU. No, Solar. That's a lie. That's a goddamn lie. I will fight. No, Solar. No. Oh well. Zeruda had apparently prevaricated about not packing anything but what was in her pockets of her coat. When Trissini got back to her room, she discovered that half of it had been utterly transformed by colourful rugs, wall hangings, and throw pillows, all heavily embroidered and most with gilded fringes and tassels. It was as if the room had been turned into some kind of harem, albeit with maps stacked up onto the walls. Or at least half of it had. Zeruda had arranged her rugs on a very precise line along the floor, perfectly bisecting the room. Trissini's side was still as Spartan as ever. The pirate herself was reclining in her bed, her face hidden behind an issue of Varsity Princess. Varsity Princess? She had finally removed the coat and hat. They currently decorated one corner of a wardrobe's open door. Seeing Zeruda in nothing but trousers and that ruffled wrap around her upper chest, Trissini had to revise her impression of the girl as plump. She was short and had a curvy frame, yes, but her arms and abdomen showed solid muscle. Piracy, she reflected, must be hard work. Hello, she said carefully, receiving a grunt in reply. She sighed and began removing her armor, carefully arranging it on the floor beside her bed. We'd better not stay up too late. Class comes early. Trissini paused for a moment, looking up at her roommate. I'm not going to attack you or anything, you know. We're all here to learn. I don't want any problems. Yeah, you know what's good for that? A pair of dark eyes appeared over the rim of the magazine, the blue gem glinting in the magic light of the glow ball. Stop creating problems. Biting back an unhelpful reply, Trissini stripped down to her shift and pulled back the thin blanket on her bed. Zeruda vanished behind the pages again. Trissini padded across the cold floor, not stepping on any of the rugs, and pulled the wall lever by the door, plunging the room into darkness. Hey! Good night, Zeruda. There came a flutter of paper and a thump as the magazine was thrown into a wall. Trissini climbed into bed and lay still, listening to her roommates growling and shuffling as she crawled under her own blankets. She missed the barracks, the quieter sounds of the other girls she knew and trusted. She'd not cry, not yet at least. Well, that was a rather sad chapter. But we're gonna switch from reading for a bit because it's a lot of reading. And apparently I'm covering my face. There we go. Hello. Yeah, I don't have words. What words speak me? Hi. Hi. Yeah, I don't know. I'm blanking out on words right now. I need a break from reading because I've read an entire chapter. And I usually have like about a 5 to 10 minute break between chapters before continuing. Because it's good to have one, to be fair. And I've apparently been alive for an hour and 20 minutes. Interesting. I did not expect that. Yeah, I basically have been reading this book for an hour 20 minutes. Scapse. Oh, that doesn't appear in my phone. When did you do that? I hope you didn't do that to like very long back or something. Hope not. Yikes. It doesn't appear even on this, just on the dashboard screen. Yikes. Yes, Weep Shirt. Marina Kanata. He's a good enemy. Good enemy. Nice, nice. Very cute. This girl. This girl. Oh. There we go. This girl's very cute. Took me forever. Yeah, the girl's very cute. She's adorable. But yeah, fuck you, Sam, for contributing to. I mean, thank you, Sam, for contributing to the I'm Gonna Cry challenge. I don't want to play Outlast. I don't even know if I can play Outlast. And I suppose in this case, all I'm doing is promising you that I will play Outlast on stream. Is all that challenge does, right? Yes. All it says is I will play Outlast. I will cry. No, I probably won't actually cry tears, like sob, but I will cry from like, you know, there's a getting scared kind of thing. I can't fucking handle fucking the alert noise. Even when I click on things, I can't handle the alert noises. What makes you all think that I can handle fucking you know, words? Good God. I'm a baby. I'm a fucking baby. I can't handle jump scares whatsoever. No. But it's there, and it's an option. Guess it's not an option, is it? I'm gonna have to do it. And I'm gonna keep like extending. If I do buy a new when I do buy a new computer, I'll be buying at least 3 monitors. You're coming back in 2 years? Are you coming to visit, or are you coming to like reservice or something? But yeah, no, I am planning to get at least 3 monitors. Because 2 monitors is good, I just want a third. I just want a third. Oh yeah, that's right, I forgot. I forgot you changed citizenship. But I mean, if you come SG, and in these 2 years I'm no longer in SG, because I still want to like settle down in what's the name? I still want to settle down in Oz if I can. Like that's my long term goal. That failed really badly. I should not ever do that again. Um, but yeah, like that's my long term goal, like very long. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, yeah. I kind of need to go piss. I kind of need to go piss. Uh, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I might not be here when you come here, because I might be in Australia when you come here. But of course, I do not know. Like, I want to believe I'm going in 2 years, but you know, who the fuck knows? Life managed to keep me out of Australia with fucking COVID-19. So you know, a lot of shit could happen. Oh, oh, you're gonna go to Oz. Oh, I see. Oh, oh. I drank way too much water. I need to go piss. I say as I take another gulp of water. uh, my back. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna go. Alright, I'm back. Uh, I don't think you could hear any of that music. I'll be honest, it's pretty fucking soft. That works, right? It works, sorta. So the vibes of the music are not gonna match anything that I'm reading because it's a random generated playlist by Spotify. Hence what it. That's not wrong way. There. Hence why it looks like that. Uh, yeah, I don't know. Am I speaking? Yes, I am. Okay. I didn't. I didn't just keep myself muted. It's happened before. Oh, my back. But yeah, we'll probably finish this chapter, and if it's not too late, I'll end stream. But if it is too late, I'll probably sorry. If it is too late, I will end stream. If it is not too late, I might start playing a game, possibly, if it works. Fingers crossed. But yeah. I'll probably stop streaming and come back for that one, though. Maybe I need to decrease the volume a little bit. That didn't work. It's just for my own ears. I think, for some reason, I hear Spotify a lot louder in my ears than you guys do on stream. So I'm just like lowering it even more so you guys can't hear it whatsoever. But oh well. I have my phone chat on the side, which is why I keep looking that way. This is... Oh, that's fine. DM set on this balcony. And that lag reminds me why I keep the fucking songs off. Yeesh. Okay, music's paused. Terrace was a city of lights. The streets were lit with hovering fairy lamps, and even at this late hour, the windows blazed with the same magical light, except in the poorer districts, where they flickered with candles and oil lamps. Scroll towers pierced the sky in all directions, the crystalline orbs atop them flickering in rainbow hues as they received and dispatched coded messages to all quarters of the empire. Massive antennae atop factories pulsed and crackled with lightning, discharging the unstable residue of the magics within directly into the atmosphere. From the altitude at which he sat, he could even see, between buildings, the occasional blue streak of a rail caravan, as it arrived or accelerated on its way out of the city. He couldn't see the stars. Light pollution, they were calling it. Progress demanded its price. Progress demanded its price. I mean, that's fair. Light pollution is very shitty. If you live in Singapore, you can definitely notice it. In Australia, near the cities, the closer you are to the cities, the more you notice it. But the further away you are, whew, so pretty. Oh, so pretty. But even in Australia, even living within Sydney, for example, when I did, it's still a lot better. You can still see a lot more stars. To be fair, I did live in like a more suburban part of Sydney, so it wasn't much light after like 8 or 9. But it's still so pretty, so much, so pretty. Wow, pretty. Like, the night sky is fucking beautiful, man. Yeah. Anyway, I was stalling because I wanted to try and figure out how to pronounce the name. Um, Sheridan Julius Adolphus Tirasian. Fuck. Sheridan Julius Adolphus Tirasian, ruler of an entire continent, lounged back on his set, dressed in a fairly modest robe of crimson silk. On the armrest beneath his hand sat a flat jewelry box, on which he occasionally drummed his fingers. Despite the awe-inspiring sight of his glowing city spreading out at his feet, despite the soothing incense wafting from the door, the harem wing behind him, and the soft notes of a harp playing nearby, in fact, partly because of that, he brooded, dreading what he would shortly have to do. He was not a man to shrink duty, but this one would be painful. The piece of music came to an end, finishing on a long, ascending arpeggio. Arpeggio. He drummed his fingers once more on the jewelry box. Beautiful. Thank you, my lord, murmured the woman, setting her harp down at her feet. She rose from the ottoman on which she had perched and approached him from behind, kneeling on the set and beginning gently to knead the emperor's shoulders. That was sudden. Sorry. I would feel more flattered if my music soothed you as it usually does. You are one great knot of tension tonight. Because you are touching me, he did not say. It was the truth, but it would have been a heartless statement. He was likely going to have to hurt more than her feelings before this was done. But needless rudeness was not in his nature. Besides, it was ridiculous. The whole situation was. She had done a lot more than touch him, and quite recently. Tell me what troubles you, my lord, she murmured. There was no sultriness in it. That wasn't her way. But in spite of himself, despite what he suspected, his blood warmed at her voice, at the way her fingers glided along his skin. Not for nothing was she his favorite concubine. Gods above, this was going to be painful. What troubles me? He felt his own shoulders, tensing further as he spoke, despite her ministrations. What shouldn't trouble me, Lillian? There's been too much progress, too fast. It's not just magical conveniences and technologies, or even weapons. Too many new ideas, too much travel and communication. The populace has been slapped in the face with the whole size of the world and the diversity of the people in it, and they're reacting about as well as anyone, as well as one would expect to their children, growing up learning dwarven philosophy and elvish ideas about sex and love. He sat up, leaning forward out of her grasp. And the church? May their own pantheon piss on the archpope in alphabetical order. Has taken ruthless advantage to increase their own sway with the people. The church and the throne have always existed in a careful balance, but we're both militarizing. It's tradition against progress all over the empire, but this time, both sides are militarizing. The emperor stood up and began to pace rapidly. I'm sitting atop a fault line into which every citizen of my empire is constantly pouring black powder and oil of combustion. Yes, I am troubled. Oops. Well, she murmured, gazing up at him with limpid eyes. If you don't want to talk about it. He halted, glaring down at her. The lady Lillian was of Riaj was tall and lean of build, almost elvishly so, though her bronze skin and prominent nose hadn't come from any elven bloodline. He usually preferred his women buxom and soft. But Lillian had always had a way of calming his tensions and carrying him away from his troubles that no other could rival. Even that fact was beginning to look damning, in the light of what he'd recently learned. Perhaps you didn't hear me, my lady. I heard you give a nice expository speech on current affairs, my lord, she replied, smiling. Her dark eyes glinted with mischief, and that adorable expression that made him find her charming, even when she said things for which he'd have other people banished. It was well done, very succinct. But those troubles are simply part of the world in which we live. Ailments like war, poverty, and disease. Nothing that should drive you into such a state. You have never hesitated to share your burdens with me before, my master. I begin to wonder if I've done something to displease you. The emperor drew in a long breath and let it out slowly. You have never been anything but a joy, Lillian. There's an unspoken but following that compliment, she replied after a pause. Does this have anything to do with the four hands lurking about just out of sight? Ah, he didn't bother to ask how she'd known, did his best not to betray any surprise, though he had a feeling she could read him much too well for such dissembling. The hands of the emperor were his agents of his choice, his voice and touch throughout the vast realm, as well as the last line of defense protecting him, even here in his home. A diverse group of men hidden behind their homogeneous black suits. They had in common only their ferocious loyalty to the throne and the high degree of their dangerous talents. Facing a hand of the emperor, one never knew exactly what his abilities might be, only that they were prodigious. He had chosen these four for their stealth. That Lillian had spotted them was more than merely troubling. Sorry. Trying to bring back chat because my phone just crashed. But just in case. The emperor turned his back on her, staring out from the balcony. Directly before him, across the imperial square, loomed the grand cathedral of the Universal Church of the Pantheon, flanked on both sides by the central temples of Ave and Omni. Not visible, but its presence very much felt, was the temple of Vidius, beneath the pavement of the square itself. Ave had a stronghold in Virdril as well, but this square was the center of divinity and worship in the empire. On its fourth border, the palace seemed outnumbered. My expository speech, as he put it, was immediately relevant, he said finally. The Archpope has taken to moving more directly, and I'm not yet sure what to make of it. Most recently, he has made troubling suggestions about you, Lillian. That's a novel approach, she said wryly. Most people, almost anyone sane, upon learning that Archpope himself had fixed his attention upon them, would have panicked. She was far too cool. Subtle, but perhaps effective. The girls in the harem may not have political power, but we do contribute to your well-being. At least, so I devoutly hope. Her laugh was a throaty ripple of music. I can't do that laugh, never mind. Besides, if he can cut you off from the chance to produce a hair, he scowled, twisting his mouth at the reminder. The imperial harem had been built to house dozens. Some of Sheridan's predecessors had filled it to capacity and more. He was not so self-indulgent. There were only 7 women in residence, and 3 of them belonged to his wife. The concubines were, as Lillian pointed out, not a luxury, or at least not entirely. The empire needed the Teresian The empire needed the Teresian dynasty to continue, and there would be no heir from Empress Eleonora. He counted Eleonora as his best and possibly only true friend, as well as his most potent ally in the shark pool of court politics. As such, he had chosen to respect the revulsion. As such, he had chosen to respect the revulsion she felt at the prospect of sharing herself with any man. It was within his rights to force her to perform wifely duties, but not in his nature. So she had her goals and he his. They were an odd little family, but a strange and happy one. Yet there was still no sign of pregnancy in any of his mistresses. Lillian was correct. If the Archpope, or any of his enemies, could prevent that from coming about, they could throw the Empire into easily exploitable chaos simply by removing him from the picture. Oh. Eleonora had not been pleased at being excluded from tonight's business, but he needed her safe elsewhere. Given how badly this could go, if anything befell him, she would have to hold the throne against those who would try to seize it. The Empire's needs must come first. I'm taking precautions, he said quietly. But I will not be bullied or tricked into blood. I am just so tired of this maneuvering. The Empire has always flourished with the Church and the throne both strong. We need that tension, the back and forth of power. Archpope Justinian seems determined to... He trailed off. To win, Lillian said. The Emperor nodded. Yes. He either doesn't understand the nature of this game, or places his own ambitions above the greater good. I'm not sure which prospect I find more frightening. How to defeat an opponent whom you cannot actually afford to vanquish? She hummed softly to herself. That is quite a puzzle. There is one encouraging thing. Justinian will likely expect you to meet him on the same absolute terms. That, or if you fail to do so, believe that you haven't seen the true nature of his own game. Either way, perhaps it is you who can trick him into a misstep. I love the way your mind works. He turned to give her a sad smile. Sometimes I regret not giving you a greater role in the palace. Not just you. Am I wasting valuable potential, keeping such clever women as pets? I, for one, quite enjoy being a pet, she said blithely. It's not for everyone, but I don't miss having obligations. Milanda might like to have another outlet for her cleverness, I suppose. But by and large, we remain here because we love to be here. The humor faded from her features, and she simply gazed up at him, into him. Because we love you. It made the weight in his chest ache. Because even if what he suspected proved correct, he knew that she spoke the truth. I have a gift for you, he said, bending to pick up the jewelry box from the set. You didn't have to, she said softly. That's what makes it a gift, my love. Please. Stealing his nerves, he held the box out toward her. Though he could not see or hear them, he knew that the watching hands had tensed, preparing to spring if it proved that they needed to. All I need is to be near you. But thank you. I can't refuse an offering of love, can I? Lillian rose, giving him a sad little smile, and took the box from him. He stepped back twice as she turned it in her hands, thumbed open the catch, and opened it. A burst of golden radiance exploded onto the balcony with the intensity of the sun. Lillian shrieked in pain and went staggering backward into a plotted fern, flinging the box away. It clattered against the balustrade. It clattered against the balustrade, spilling a masterwork diamond necklace onto the stone floor. The priceless jewelry lay in a jumble, glowing furiously. A faint sound like bells howled at the edge of his hearing. That necklace carried the most powerful blessing that his considerable resources could reach. The kind of holy magic that one might expect to find on a paladin's sword, not a court lady's ornament. Lillian scrambled backward, deeper into the plant, glaring down at him. There was only one kind of creature that was harmed by holy magic. Any demon would be blinded and hurt by that blessing, but only one of immense power could have caused it to erupt so fiercely. I'm actually going to close Spotify because I feel like it's lagging me. So that's kind of irritating me. Okay, it's closed. That's a lot better. Whatever. The moment the necklace blazed to life, the four hands plunged onto the balcony, two through the door into the harem, and the others out of nearby windows. In the space of a second, two had bracketed the fallen consort and covered her with a pair of wands and a wizard staff. The remaining duo positioned themselves between her and the Emperor, both holding swords at the ready. Shardan felt something crack inside himself. He forced the pain not to show. Later, he would sit with Eleonora and grieve in peace. Now, a brave face was needed. That, said Lillian reproachfully, was a discourteous prank, my lord. She carefully lifted herself out of the shrubbery, straightening her sheer robe, and recovering a bit of dignity, though she kept well back from the blazing necklace. For all the attention she paid them, the two hands and the firepower they had pointed at her might as well not exist. So Justinian was right, the Emperor said, then heaved a sigh. There is going to be absolutely no living with him after this. Please don't do anything brash, Lillian. I've no wish to see you harmed, but it's clear I can't allow you to roam free any longer. You were always such a clever lad, she said fondly. He could just see her face past the shoulder of the nearest hand. Better when you have time to prepare, though. Come, Your Majesty, You know, anything you'd try to have your servants do to me would be more than merely harmful at this point. I am Emperor, he said simply. I've done things that pained me before. Today even. And I will again. You and I both, she replied, and flicked both hands at the two men holding weapons on her. One was sent hurtling into space over the balcony's rail, the staff discharging a burst of lightning that cracked the stone at her feet. The other slammed into the wall of the palace with a nauseating crunch, wands tumbling uselessly to the floor. Instantly, one of the remaining hands bore the Emperor to the ground, flipping the set up into a makeshift barricade and tossing his lead behind it with one efficient burst of motion. The other lunged at Lillian, sword first. The hand and the concubine were both cut from the Emperor's view as he was unceremoniously shoved down. But he could not miss seeing the burst of flame that illuminated the balcony for an instant, nor hearing the man's quickly stifled scream. A split second later, his last remaining hand was yanked away with a cry of surprise, dropping his stone in the process. There came the sound of flesh striking flesh, then flesh striking stone. Silence. Sheridan snatched up the sword and rolled to his feet. It was obvious, now, how this was going to end, but he was determined to end it upright, with a weapon in his hand, not cowering behind crouch. The balcony had become a scene from a nightmare in the intervening few seconds. Everything was burned. Ferns and flowers reduced to ash, rugs and pillows to smoldering scraps. Lillian's heart was a twisted, blackened shape, resembling an unfortunate piece of driftwood. 3 bodies lay where they had fallen. 2 wearing imperial black, one little more than a charred skeleton. All of it was illuminated sickeningly by the light of the gods burning from the accursed necklace. Lillian hadn't even a hair or a fold of her robe out of place. Ignoring him for the moment, despite the sword he held pointed at her heart, she heaved a soft sigh, then stepped over to the necklace, bending to pick it up. The intensity of its blaze grew in warning as she approached. When she touched it, a shrill whine of protest rose in his ears, and smoke began to curl from her fingers. "This really is a stunning piece of work," she said calmly. He could barely see her through the glow now. "A fitting gift from an emperor. I believe I'll keep it, as a reminder of you, my lord, since it seems I must leave you now." With that, she lifted the necklace to her throat and fastened its clasp behind her neck. A chime like silver bells rang out, and the glow abruptly vanished. The necklace, still smoking slightly, but now inert, lay fetchingly against her coppery skin. He blinked in the sudden dimness. It hardly mattered now, given what was surely about to happen. But Sheridan's heart sank further. He had never heard of a demon powerful enough to snuff out a holy blessing. That should not even be possible. "What are you?" he whispered. She looked up at him, and he was taken back by the pure hurt in her expression. "I wish you had less of the church nonsense poisoning your mind. Of all the things I've been called, Lillian Reg will do fine, at least for you. I am a woman who has shared your bed and your travails this year, and never done you any wrong." Again she sighed. "Well, I can't blame you for this, not entirely. The world is what it is." Lillian stepped toward him, and he backed away, keeping the sword between them. Stay back, please. Shaking her head, she reached out to touch the tip of the sword with one finger. The blade instantly drooped, as though made of rubber. Sheridan stared down at it for a second, then, shoulders slumping in defeat, dropped the ruined weapon to the floor with a clatter. Whatever you intend to do, I hope you'll do quickly. Oh, Sheridan. Lillian shook her head, gliding closer. She lifted her hand toward his face, but let it fall again when he flinched. I want you to know a few things. First of all, your dynasty will continue, and your heir will be beyond the power of the church or anyone else to harm. Her lips curled up in a smile, and she placed a hand against her belly. Oh, he groaned. Oh no. Second, despite what the church and the pantheon have said this last millennia, I have never been humanity's enemy. And I have never been, she said, glaring intensely at him, nor ever shall be yours. I really will miss you, Sheridan. This last year has been the first time in so long that I felt happy. She stepped back and smiled at him again, sadly. Goodbye. Then she was just gone. Only the faint scent of sulfur remained. I forgot about that scene. Oops. That was a good scene. That's a good scene. Good scene. I forgot that was in this chapter. Oh, sorry for the yawn. That's a good scene. There's a lot. It's an important scene. It comes into play very often. Yeah. Like Soa said earlier, like D&D, but this would be more of like a how would I put it? This would be like a cutscene kind of thing when your party is doing whatever, but you've reached a level high enough that something's going on in the world, that might affect you. So this is the kind of thing that would be happening. Like I said earlier, it does read like a D&D thing, because that's kind of what it is, Roughly 1,600 miles to the southwest of Tiras, at the rim of the space-altering magical pier dubbed the Golden Sea, a mountain rose from the flat ground. 8,000 years ago, during the Celestial War in which the current gods had risen, when this region had been a stagnant swamp filled with crawling horrors, the mountain had been raised by a now forgotten deity, a long plateau into which his fortress was hewn. A millennium later, a cataclysmic attack by a rival had destroyed him and made the stones of the earth run like water, sinking half the mountain into the ground and leaving the hidden fortress in ruins. Now, the drunken mountain was a wedge-shaped interruption of the pier, with a little town at its base and a citadel of learning at its peak, and deep within, even still, darkened halls, filled with mysteries far better not disturbed. Professor Alaric Jornhold pondered the nightmares snoozing under his feet as he walked through the halls of the unseen university in his dressing gown and robe. It was a habit of his, when he couldn't sleep, to pace the corridors and ponder what lay below. Magic, especially magic of the slumbering, half-forgotten kind, was at its most dangerous just when you thought you had a handle on it. This night, he thought sorely as he passed the doors to Professor Tulren's office. It was refreshing to be able to worry about his old standby instead of worrying about starting the semester with the university's president and professor of history absent, as he had for the most of the past week. Tulren had come trapezing in this afternoon, a few hours after the last of the students had arrived, looking disgruntled but not sullen. Long experience told him this meant her quest had failed, and she'd taken a little time off to work out some of the disappointment. She wondered how many people were dead, and how many lying tangled in their sheets, wearing blissful smiles and lacking the use of the legs. Artney typically left a few of her each in her wake when she decided to let her hair down. Just as he came abreast of the study, an explosion occurred within that rattled the door in its frame, accompanied by a scream. "Artney!" Jornhall bellowed, his annoyance of a moment before forgotten. He grabbed the doorknob, locked of course, and bespelled against his customary tricks. Backing up, he rammed his shoulder into the wood. The door had held against the pyrotechnics, but was not up to resisting 240 pounds of frantic dwarf. It burst off its hinges and tumbled inward in pieces, Jornhall staggering in atop it. His first sight was of Professor Tulren, sitting on the floor against the far corner, her face blackened and glaring at him fiercely. He relaxed. If she was angry enough to glare, she wasn't badly hurt. "What have I told you, Eric? How many times?" she shouted. "If you hear knocking and screaming in here, I'm either amidst a delicate experiment or masturbating, and your assistance is not required." Professor Jornhall took a moment to straighten his robe, surveying the office. Papers were blown about, heaping in the corners like snowdrifts, and the chandelier hung crookedly, but nothing else appeared to be damaged, except for the utterly pulverized scrying stand that had stood in the center of the carpet. It was now 2 cracked halves of a crystal ball, a charred map, and a few sticks of kindling. The carpet was going to need cleaning too, if not outright replacing. "We go through this every time you scream and I break in," he rumbled, "and I've yet to catch you doing either of those things. I usually find you either on fire or wrestling something you've accidentally summoned, and on one memorable occasion, glued to the ceiling. How in the blazes did you manage to blow up your scrying equipment? There's not enough magic in that to light a candle." "Huh!" She surged athletically to her feet, unable to repress a small smirk. Over the years, Jornhall had grown adept in handling Professor Tulren. The fastest way to soothe her annoyance was to give her a chance to boast when she'd done something clever. "Well, I discovered you can significantly boost the range and receptivity of a scrying attempt using the energy to matter component of a conjuration spell, with a few tweaks." You did..." He blinked in confusion. Then a thunderous scowl began to grow on his face. "Arden, that sounds like an excellent way to unintentionally conjure up whatever you are trying to scry on. Which, I gather, was the interior of a furnace. Is this what happened the day you had this place knee-deep in venom-biting saberfish?" "Don't be absurd. I can't pronounce that. I was making baula base. Don't be absurd. I was making baula base." She half-heartedly brushed ash from her vest, then reached up to pat at her head. Besides, desperate times, inventive measures, and all that. I'm out of leads on the exploding girl problem, and I would prefer to pursue this without interrogating Miss Falconer, who has enough concerns of her own. Jornholt's call deepened. Used a conjuration spell to scry on demons? Woman, have you gone utterly insane? Yes, Kyle, I am sorry, I am lazy. Exercise is indeed still turned off. But also because I wanted to read the chapters today. We can switch, when I switch, maybe not actually considering how late it is, but at the end of stream I'll turn it back on for the next one. So you can do that then. No more than when we last spoke, she leaned down toward him. How are my eyebrows? Full of soot, but still there. Ah, splendid. It'll take all night to regrow them, and I can hardly start class without. Damn it, I messed up the names again. Damn it, Arkin. Take this seriously. If a student had done something so reckless, you'd toss them off the mountain. Are you trying to open a hellgate in your office? She stepped around behind the desk, pulled open a drawer, and produced a high mirror. Nonsense. If I wanted to open a hellgate, I'll do it in the men's room in the music building. Have you seen what's written about me in there? What were you doing in there? Artney! Twirling paused and rubbing soot from her face, peered down at him in exasperation. What? Jornholt stomped over to the desk and leaned his fists upon its surface, glaring at her. The pose was less effective than it might have been, given that the desktop was at chest height on him. What happened here? Oh, that. She flicked her fingers at him dismissively, causing a tiny puff of soot. I was having a measure of success at first, scanning for current demon activity since I wasn't yet sure how to combine my modified scrying spell with a time-bending spell, and that's the kind of thing that tends to break reality if you do it wrong. Jornholt clapped a hand over his eyes, which she ignored, continuing to scrub at her face while she talked. I found quite a sizable spike in Terras. In the capital? Unless to move the capital while I was frontier hopping, yes, it's in Terras. More precisely than that, I wasn't able to tell, which means it was in a warded location, which means the Imperial Palace or the Grand Cathedral. I've cracked everyone else's wards. Cracked the palace's wards too, but they change them every few weeks. Sheridan has been annoyingly careful about security since the vodka elemental incident. Still think that was funny? More so every year. Anyhow, I was trying to narrow down my focus on whatever demon, and it had to have been a really big one, probably more so than even Vadrini, when whatever it was did something very extravagant, and the feedback blasted my scrying table. Jornholt leaned back from the desk, stroking his neatly cropped beard with one hand. Do you think we should warn the palace? I guarantee, she said dryly, they already know, and are dealing with it. All that would do is raise awkward questions about why I was trying to scry on the palace. This new emperor is a pretty reasonable fellow, but his grandfather had tried to have me kidnapped for that once. She sighed reminiscently. Now that was a good time. Nobody knows how to throw a proper kidnapping anymore. Then what do we do? We? She cocked her head to one side. With half her face still smudged with ash and her blackened hair sticking up every which way, she looked like an inquisitive jungle bird. I am going to back off and try a different approach in a few days, depending on when I have time. We are going to go to bed. We've got the freshmen first thing in the morning, and I want you alert for that, Elric. I want your opinions of them right after classes. Oh, and also, I'll need to get Stu up here to fix my door, apparently. He grunted. Fine. As long as you're not going to detonate yourself again tonight, bed sounds very inviting. Who knows? I might actually sleep. Jarnholt turned his back on her and stalked back to the blasted door, but paused just before entering the hall. Looks like you'll need Stu to scrub the walls out here too. What's that? She slipped around the desk. And came to peer over his head. How are you doing, Kyle? How are you? Were you playing Apex? I don't even know. I don't think you were streaming though, so at least in that I'm okay. On the corridor wall outside Twelrin's office, facing the door, words had burned into the stone. Mind your own business. Ah, fantastic. Professor Twelrin rubbed her hands together, grinning with maniac glee. They never bother to send warnings unless you're getting close. Jarnholt turned ponderously and jabbed her in the stomach with a thick finger. Arden, enough. You need to drop this. I beg your pardon? Her eyebrows climbed. You are, I trust, aware of the usual effect of telling me not to do something. Then get over it, he roared. She blinked in surprise at this out-of-character display of temper. Jarnholt rubbed at his eyes with a thumb and forefinger, collected himself, before continuing. Arden, you're not adventurous anymore. There's no dungeon to loot, no princess to rescue, or war to intervene in. We've got 80 students for whom we are responsible, and provoking the powers of hell itself is more than merely foolhardy. It's a betrayal of that trust. He heaved a sigh, finally looking up to meet her eyes earnestly. I'm not telling you to give this up, since I know you wouldn't anyway, and with the Falconer girl here, I'll agree that it is our business. But this, he pointed the message, means it's time to take a step back and come at this from a different, less provocative angle. Twelrin heaved a melodramatic sigh. There you go, being the voice of reason again. I remember when we used to have fun, Elric. The necessary cleanup after you've had fun just isn't in the budget, he said wearily. Yes, fine, of course. I won't have time to fool with it for at least a week anyhow, with classes starting back up. I'll need to think of something more subtle. And now, she added gently, pushing on his shoulders, go to bed. Promise me you will too. Oh, no worries on that score. Only for a bit I should have to face a little monsters at any less than my best. Good night, you crazy witch. Night, you worrywart. As Professor Jarnholt strolled off toward his own rooms, he found he wasn't worried about the unknown horrors lurking beneath their feet at all. And that is Chapter 5. I am not going to read Chapter 6 onwards today. Maybe I do this and then do this shove up next bar because I'd like to have it. Yeah, I'm not going to read anymore today because the stream has gone on for a long time. 2 hours to 30 minutes almost. Not as long as usual, but it is almost 6:30 here, and I promised parents I'll do something at about 7. So I should end stream. I saw certain people went live, so I am gonna read them in just a second. As soon as I clear unread Discord messages. Hello. Huh? I put in not yet. 5 maybe. There's Mom. But yeah, we're gonna raid Falsey because I believe he's streaming DBD today. Falsey's a good friend. Has been around since whenever I started streaming and will be around till I end, probably, because it's Falsey. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Sloth, for the resub. That's what I was looking for. Thank you, Sloth, for the resub. You are great. I love you so much. What else? I don't know. Are there any words? Why is the raid not working? Like the Twitch. Is the raid working? I can't tell. Everything just kind of stopped. Yay! Hi, Sloth. No, it's okay. I believe you were studying. Oh, okay. Apparently the raid's working now. All I had to do was refresh the page. I don't understand. You're fine, Sloth. Thank you for the sub. Thank you for the resub, I suppose. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have words. Thank you, everyone, for coming in. I will continue reading this. Perhaps not next week, but I will continue reading it. Cool.